Hi, and welcome. If you watched our first video, Beyond the Budget, Leading Change in Aging Infrastructure, we introduced a few prioritization frameworks. We see these frameworks as accessible, practical tools for turning organizational overwhelm into focused, strategic action. Now we want to talk about what comes next. Infrastructure spans multiple systems and sectors, but meaningful change begins with the utility responsible for delivering clean, safe water. Once you've outlined a plan to address aging infrastructure needs, the next critical step is engaging the public. In our next video, we'll explore why transparency and trust within your community is essential to moving these projects forward.
It's safe to assume that a majority of the public does not think about our existence as utilities. The complex and elaborate network of systems and disciplines that make our utilities operational go largely unnoticed every single day. Now put yourself in the shoes of the customer. You never hear about your utility until you see an increase in your water bill, a power outage on your street, or road closures affecting your daily commute. When you never hear about the infrastructure improvements that are keeping your day-to-day functioning, the only exposure that you'll have is one of inconvenience. So why should you trust the disruptive and mostly obscure utility that's responsible? This is why it's important to get your utility out there. The first step to connecting with your community can be as easy as getting the word out and reminding your customers that water connects us all. In fact, the Value of Water Coalition developed a free waterworks campaign to help utilities do just that. Their campaign focuses on simple but effective messaging. Water connects us, water grows jobs, water keeps us healthy, and water sustains our environment. This message, paired with photos of your crews removing lead service lines or fixing a road after a water main break, can help establish a track record of proactive and thoughtful communication with your community. Now you may be thinking, how does community trust play into aging infrastructure? You already created a plan for your infrastructure improvements utilizing a framework, but the community is what can help you push this plan forward. When the community cares, so do community leaders. And as a leader yourself, we empower you to help take your utility to the next step in the management of aging assets.
Speaking of the public, we would be remiss not to discuss the value of having an effective PR campaign and team responsible for engaging with your community. After all, community and stakeholder buy-in will be essential in progressing your capital improvement projects. Check out the link below to another WLI team video on communicating with the public. Establishing trust with the public may seem obvious, but it often takes years of consistent messaging, public engagement, and a willingness to show up. If your utility has a public information officer, they likely have an idea of what that relationship looks like and the areas of needed improvement. However, if you do not have a front-facing team, but know that it's time to build something of integrity, here are a few ideas from the EPA that have shown success in other communities. A survey is a simple but perhaps eye-opening way to understand how your community perceives your utility. Having regularly scheduled appearances on local radio or news stations to discuss changes, water report cards, and your infrastructure endeavors. In fact, a large study conducted by American Water found that once you explain what is involved in the service and that the service costs about a penny per gallon of water, the customer realizes the value of the service. A news spot would be a great place to explain this. Next, establishing a presence at local town events or communicate with your town officials to coordinate planned infrastructure improvements to lessen the impact on the community. All of these are excellent examples of creative formats for public outreach and engagement. Tailoring both the content and the delivery method of communications to different target audiences can be an excellent way for leaders to leverage public support to achieve goals for solving aging infrastructure challenges. Next, we'll tell you about an organization who transformed not only their utility's performance, but also public perception.
In 2015, Little Rock Water Reclamation Authority, or LRWRA, stood at a crossroads. The utility was under a federal consent order facing mounting challenges from aging infrastructure and excessive inflow and infiltration, or what we call I&I. A leadership transition brought with it a renewed vision and a clear, ambitious goal: renew horizontal assets and eliminate I&I. Over the next decade, LRWRA stayed focused on that mission. They invested in data-driven planning, rehabilitated miles of sewer lines, upgraded pump stations, and implemented targeted I&I deduction strategies. Step by step, basin by basin, the system became stronger, more reliable, and more resilient. In early 25, that work delivered. LRWRA reached a milestone few thought was possible in that time frame. They satisfied the consent order, bringing over 400 reported overflows down to zero, and officially closed that chapter of their history. But the story doesn't end there. LRWRA knew exactly what it took to recover from the decades of underinvestments, and they're committed to never going back. The key? Continued investment in the system, supported by the people who rely on it every day. That's why public engagement is now a central focus of LRWRA's mission. They're prioritizing transparency, keeping residents informed about ongoing investments, whether it's neighborhood pipe replacements, major treatment plant upgrades, or the latest in monitoring technology. By showing how ratepayer dollars are being used, communicating the long-term benefits of each project, and inviting public feedback, LRWRA is building lasting trust. They believe that when people see the value, fewer overflows, and a more resilient system, they'll continue to support the investments needed to protect it. Our system is out of crisis, but that's not the finish line. The finish line is keeping it strong for the next generation, and we can't do that without the public's support. From a moment of challenge in 2015 to a position of strength in 2025, LRWRA's journey is one of leadership, persistence, and partnership with the community. And together, they're making sure our Little Rock sewer system remains strong, sustainable, and ready for the future.
As we reflect on the successes of the utilities we just talked about, one thing is clear. It takes a strong leader to recognize the value of community trust and propel the utility towards people-centered connection. Whether you're in comms or ops, every interaction is a chance to build something together. At the end of the day, you may have a plan for your infrastructure improvements, but it is your community that can help you move them forward.